All right, today's gospel reading is from Mark chapter 13, verses 1 through 10. As always, I'll be doing the explanation according to the Blessed Theophylact, who's an archbishop from the Ochre region of Bulgaria from the 11th century. Verses 1 through 4. And as he went out of the temple, one of his disciples saith unto him, Master, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here. And Jesus answering said unto him, Seest thou these great buildings? There shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives over against the temple, Peter and James and John and Andrew asked him privately, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign when these things shall be fulfilled? And the explanation here. Because the Lord had spoken many things concerning the desolation of Jerusalem, as for example, when he said, Behold, your house is left unto you desolate, as he said in Matthew 23:38. The disciples point out to him the great majesty of the temple, wondering if buildings of such size and beauty would ever be destroyed. But he foretells that they will be destroyed, and in such a manner that not one stone will be left upon the other. In an attempt to prove Christ's words false, some say that much of the ancient city of Jerusalem remains standing. But this is not so. And even if some part had remained standing, which none did, at the end of the world not one stone would be left upon the other. History tells us how the Emperor Hadrian had the city and the temple dug up from the foundations. In his work, Jewish Wars, in book 7, chapter 1, the historian Josephus refers to the complete destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD, when Vespasian was emperor. But under the Emperor Hadrian in 132 AD, Jerusalem was again besieged by the Romans and rebellion put down. Thus fulfilling the prophecy that there shall not be left one stone upon the other. When then Jesus sat upon the Mount of Olives, and the disciples approached him and asked, When shall these things be? That is, when shall the end of Jerusalem be accomplished? Before answering their question, Jesus sharpened their understanding so that they will not be deceived. Since the Jews had begun to ail spirituality, certain men had risen up, calling themselves teachers, and therefore the Lord says, Take heed that you not be deceived. And verses 5 through 10. And Jesus answering them began to say, Take heed lest any man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And when ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled, for such things must needs be, but the end shall not be yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes in divers places, and there shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginnings of the pangs of travail. But take heed to yourselves, for they shall deliver you up to councils, and in synagogues ye shall be beaten, and ye shall be brought before rulers and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them. And the gospel must first be preached among all nations. In the explanation here, many shall come, such as Judas and Theudas, who said that they had been sent by God, in Acts 5:36 and 37. Ye shall hear of wars, he said, such as those which Josephus relates to have occurred before the Romans seized Jerusalem. And the Jewish nation did rise up and refused to pay tribute to the Romans. So the Romans were angered and waged war, mounting frequent campaigns against them. But the end of Jerusalem was not yet, for the Romans showed mercy. But there were not only wars, but also plagues sent by God, and famines and earthquakes, God showing them clearly that it was he himself who was warring against them. All these things were the beginnings of the pangs of labor, that is, of the evils that were about to befall them. But take heed to yourselves, for they shall deliver you up to the councils. He purposely inserts these words concerning the disciples, that they shall deliver you up to the councils, so that they might take comfort in their own adversities from the disasters that will befall them all. The Lord also gives them not a little comfort by telling them that it is for my sake that they shall be brought before rulers and kings, since they will suffer these things for him. For a testimony against them means that rulers and kings will have no answer to give for their actions, and from that very time they will be condemned. It also means that although they twisted you with tortures, they could not overcome the truth. Then, so that the disciples would not think that these dangers and afflictions would prevent them from preaching, the Lord says that the gospel must first be preached among all nations, and then Jerusalem would be captured. That the gospel was indeed preached before the capture of Jerusalem, hear what St. Paul says: their sound hath gone forth into all the earth, and their words unto the ends of the world. In Romans 10:18, the epistle of St. Paul to the Romans was written some 10 years before the destruction of Jerusalem. And this also took place for the greater condemnation of the Jews, that the gospel was preached everywhere before the capture of Jerusalem. For when they saw how quickly the preaching spread throughout the world, they ought to have recognized the power of God and repented, and thus been saved from disaster. But they did not learn, and therefore their condemnation was greater.